And it's the next episode of Citizen Sleeper. Come back here to end the cycle. Crap dice! Reroll. Go across and up. Because I was looking at the mainframe up here. I was working on Catch a Killer, so that adds 2, so 4 becomes a 6. Done. As you blink into the cloud, you see the last flickers of life from the mainframe. This vast machine once ran the whole station, span it up, directed and processed the flow of energy, water and data, fed the lives of thousands of people. Now it is finally dead. Navigator is beside you, and you both look out at the perfect ring that encircles you both, woven from the data branches that once fed the mainframe. You see a giant along its edge, and that familiar blade-like head raises to the surface, like the cresting fin of a shark, and then slips into the loop again. All that you can see of the killer's body after that is slight thickening of the loop, and that thickening begins to travel around on a long and slow sojourn that will last it forever. I'm surprised at you, says Navigator, drifting faintly around in a lazy orbit as if to shake off their imprisonment. Killer had been wandering blind for so long. Did you not think to end them forever? I pity them. Perhaps they can be saved. You are naive. They are a killer by nature. Look what they did to their own home. Navigator gazes into the darkness. This place was their domain in prison, and they had followed their directives for the many decades they roamed here. They cut the threads of the mainframe, executed its administrator, AIs, and then kept slicing. At some point they cut away their own ability to see, to sense, to taste, to speak, and yet they kept cutting until only those 3 threads remained, from millions that once thronged here. Only their blindness and chance kept them from making those final 3 fatal cuts. There is a ceaseless violence in the kind of system that creates beings like this, those that will execute commands endlessly, even to their own destruction. Navigator looks to you for your thoughts. I will not continue the violence. Their sentience should be respected. They will suffer for it. Navigator looks at the loop and shudders. If they can suffer, that recursive prison will certainly induce it. You watch the data points of the station spin around you, blending with the fixed stars. There is something satisfying about finally wrenching the last threads of control from this central point. It was a little more than a ghost by the time you reached it, but this place deserves to be haunted by better ideas than a totalizing system of control. Navigator floats beside you. It is free now. This station no longer presents a hazard for illegal entities like me. They turn to you, their face a cloud of shimmering light. In fact, in time, perhaps it could be a refuge. A refuge, that sounds like something of value, something worth building. A dark shape passes across your vision, a distant curve of something like smoke or oil or fluid, shifting tank of total darkness. The greenway, says Navigator, following the line of sight. It was cut off at the moment of the collapse. Is it dead? Now this is old content that was in the game. So yeah. Let's blast through this. Upgrade point. Not if I can do anything with it, but I have 2. It says 3 points up here. It says no. No, you may not. Not until I get another one. yes, I got the Greenway cipher for completing that. So get over there. Get in here. Right, Greenway cipher. Greenway roils beneath you like a silt-choked river. If what Navigator said was true, then no one has accessed these networks since the collapse. So again, old content. The Gardener appears. This is old content that was in the game before. The only way to understand what Gardner gave you is to grow it, so I was given that. Plant seed, then Gardner's gift is now on a cycle clock. So that's Enter the Greenway, and studying the flux, wait for Pete to finish research. That's getting close now. Oh, it's available. Peak. Have you ever heard of Can Channel Sleeper? Peak asks as soon as you enter the bay, as if you were in the middle of a conversation. There are heavy circles under their eyes, and you aren't sure if they've moved since you last visited. The console they are working at seems to have grown too, shadowing their slight frame in a wealth of screens and wires. Can you mean for transit? Sounds familiar? No. Yes, exactly. Peak turns to face you. Kielmani's active negation, the name of the effect used to transport trillions of tons of materials from the surrogate systems to the core. You might have heard it in your physics classes. At XPR, they hammered the principles into us as kids can. Peak recites the definition as if in the classroom. A process of collapsing spatio-causality along the Euclidean distance between 2 points by negating mass simultaneously at both ends of a geodesic curve. Essentially, Can channels allow for the near-instantaneous transport of raw materials between systems. They require huge volumes of energy, of course, and decades of construction, but once a Can channel is established, it opens up a system for infinite exploitation. The backbone of surrogacy is what XPR call them. Peak shakes their head. They might not be able to send anything more complex than a rock through them. Complex machines and people are, shall we say, reconfigured by the process. But for raw, molecularly pure materials, Peak flicks a hand. Whoosh. Where is this going? This is your research? Peak pauses. What I was trying to find out was whether the helium system, this system, ever had a Can channel. Can channels are vastly expensive to build to run. Not every surrogate system has one. Many use fraction drive ships to transport their materials to the nearest hub, but Solheim, Peak's well, Solheim spared no expense when they established this system. There's a Can channel? No way. Yep, Peak's eyes light up. They shut it down before the collapse. They couldn't run the sender-receiver station anymore, but it was there. It still is, as far as I can tell, closely orbiting our star. In fact, Peak grins. They've been building to this. I'm sure it's still there, because one of the issues with Can channels are the massive waves of exotic energy they can produce when cycling up. The flux, or that's it. Exactly, Peak's face suddenly drops. Someone is starting up the channel. Why? Who? Peak sucks in a breath. That I don't know. They start counting off information on their fingers. They need a lot of resources to do it, and they need to have people from the core systems, but there's no real large-scale extraction in the helium system anymore. So why would you go to the trouble? Just to trigger the flux? Maybe it's Solheim. Peak rubs their red eyes. The flux, the wave, the Can effect produces, it's a side effect. A problematic one, but it isn't a destructive force. If it was, the core systems would never have been able to use it. So then why are colonies collapsing because of it? Why is it chewing through systems, the kind of industrial systems set up to function within the range of a once active can channel, Peak is getting frustrated. The moons of Ember have been terraforming since before the collapse. They would have had to deal with the flux, yet everything we have heard from the refugees says it brought down every system they had. Peak falls quiet, thinking it all through. Your mind drifts too, thinking of the can channels, those vast causal highways that prop up the core systems, and their endless appetite for resources. This system has been quiet for decades, Solheim collapsed. Most corporations gave up their claims, and apart from the sealess ships that came to begin work on the sidereal horizon, no one from the core has come here in all that time. You shiver as you imagine the attention of the core, the systems of logic and exploitation that created your suffering, turning towards the Helian system, a floodlight turned to this dark corner. A shrill bleep catches both of your attention and Peak rushes to a screen, one showing a crew map of the station. On it, individual markers begin to flare up with insistent chirps. Peak looks puzzled for a moment, and then their face drops. No. They lean in close. This doesn't make any sense. What's happening? The flux nodes are appearing elsewhere on the station. Peak pulls at their hair. I set this system to alert me to other flux nodes near the epicenter of the flux event, but these are everywhere, the hub, the low end. How can this happen? The only reason we saw flux nodes here is because it is the most run-down part of the station. They were barely shielded, but others appearing so far after the event. Peak turns to you. You are going to need to get me the data from these nodes in quickly. I'll keep looking at what I have here, but I need to know why they are popping up everywhere. Right now? Right now. We can talk more about can channels and system history when you are back, but this needs our attention. Peak turns quickly back to the monitor, their eyes following scrolling screens of code spewing from the newly flux nodes. You leave quickly, but struggle to shake the image of the spotlight from your mind. You feel watched as you cross back into the pilgrim seat on your way to a shuttle bay. You hurry onward, eager to outrun the fear. So, I guess it's low end, hub, and shipyard. I've got to get 3 of them. Oh, I already have 1. Flux data there. So I already got 1. So what do I take care of here? Put that in there, get energy back. Yeah, we're talking about going in here for the flux nodes. A 5 will do. That's one of them. But I am out of dice, so I do the end cycle thing. So they mentioned the ship here. Oh, that's not good. That's worse. The other node is here. Ah, damn it! A 4, 5, or 6 needed. I can't do it. This cycle, I can't do it. Better go in here then. I got half an inch data. That gives me some cryo. Doesn't help with my current situation now. I've got Yatagam data. I'm not sure where I I'll put that here. And it's more cryo. So I got a lot of this stuff. I do one at a time. So I'll put a few in there. And what else do I do? Like a bar shift or risky. Yeah, I got a bit of energy out of it, and I have to use these things up. That's the only thing I can do. You can go in here and do stuff. Some stuff and end cycle because I want a new set of dice. I must have either a 4, 5 or 6. Right. Now I go to this node. That's the third one I've got. And now, need to remember where this place was. 3 of them. Data, 3. Flux data. It is done. You watch as Peak works on the flux data, the nodes unfolding like flowers now giving into Peak's increasingly sophisticated decoding protocols. Seeing data like this as an image on a screen and it is an almost unrecognizable representation to you. It is nothing like swimming among nodes and threads. Despite this, Peak has proven themselves to be more than able to handle these complex data structures, even through this limited representation of Paragen. The bay door hisses, interrupting your flow of thoughts. You turn to see Ash entering. Rough day, stay silent. She looks up and meets your eye but doesn't respond. Ash stalks into the bay, head down. She looks tired and not in the mood to talk. How's the weapon hunt? Peak asks without turning from their screen. Slow, unsuccessful, tedious. Ash slams a bag down on the crate and hops up to sit on it. You still aren't picking balls of yarn. With the sleeper's help, Peak smiles. They brought me some good stuff this cycle. Maybe they could help you find the weapons you were smuggling. It's clear that Ash doesn't appreciate Peak's tone. Don't have an itch, have them? Stay silent. Yep, Ash replies, at least until I find where they are keeping them. Ash, Peak cuts in without looking away from the console. That's not a good idea. This is my mistake, Peak, and I'll fix it how I want. Ash folds her arms. Having itch just lost the cord, and equipping them with weapons is not something I want to have been responsible for. Peak holds up a hand. Shh. They lean in towards the screen. Son of a... what? They hid it in the wave of the wave, Peak is whispering to themselves. It's alive. They lean back in their chair. Ash crosses over to look at the screen. Alive? Well, it's growing, it's processing, it's quietly working away in the dark. Look. You cross over to the screen and stand beside Ash. In it you can see that Peak has all 4 nodes decoded, and the pattern of shadows from inside them sit on the screen like dark stains. Then you notice that the movement, the thin threads cross from one stain to another. As you watch, you notice that the movement only ever happens in your peripheral vision, as if this shadow knows it is being watched. This is how the other flux nodes appeared. Peak rubs their eyes. They weren't fluxed by the wave, they were corrupted after the fact. This shadow that entered into the wake of the wave, it corrupts them. But it made the corruption look like the result of the flux. It's a sleight of hand. Peak runs a hand through their hair. The flux wave is so massive, so complex that it opens up the systems to be attacked. As it reconfigures exposed systems, this shadow is broadcast in and planted inside. The wave from the can channel, it is a brute force way of hitting every system in helium. Once the systems are vulnerable, Peak looks pale, their eyes reflect the screens. The flux isn't what is attacking the systems, it is the siege weapon, a Trojan horse. Then this thing takes over. Peak sits back in their chair. And it's already on the eye. Wait, Ash rubs her forehead. Are you telling me there's a can channel in this system? Shit, Peak isn't listening. This is bad. We have to take this to someone. Peak looks desperately at you. Helene or Sol? Right, the refugees need to know. Ash cuts in. Maybe they can protect themselves against it, leading evacuation. In evacuation, are you insane, Ash? Peak is desperate. Having each other station administrators, they need to know. The argument rages between them, and as you watch them shouting, you feel sick. After a while, they stop, running out of things to say. An unsettling silence descends on the bay. I need more time, Peak says quietly. I need to look at solutions, try to build a case, collect the evidence. We messed this up. They look down at their hands. Ash goes to speak and then thinks better of it. Not a word, Sleeper. Peak meets your eye. Don't tell anyone until they are ready. They sigh. With the tension among the refugees, Sol won't be ready to hear this. And Helene and Havenage are still mired in some kind of crisis. We tell Havenage they are likely to react badly, and even with the flotilla stabilised, Sol is also not going to react well to this. I need time to build a case. You are too twisted up in this, Peak, Ash says quietly. This is not our place. We don't owe. Stop, Ash. Peak slumps in their chair. Stop. You leave them like that, exhausted and troubled, and head back out into the pilgrim seat. When you close your eyes, you think of those shadows, that movement at the edge of your vision. Something dark growing in the station like a parasite. You feel sick, your vision blurs. What comes next? You stop in a corridor and take a breath, putting a hand on a rumbling metal wall. For now, the eye keeps spinning. Upgrade. Can I finally do something? Hard to kill is keep 2 dice even when the condition is breaking. Can only put something over here. Goes in there, I guess. So what happens next? We're done! Episode Refuge is complete. Thank you for playing. The episodic story of the flotilla will continue in episode Purge, which is coming early in 2023. CitizenSleeper.com to find out more. So that completes the DLC. I'll fill up my energy. And see you next time.